Sorry, suspected spam caller. They call me all the time. Okay, so for these first questions, it says use the explicit function equations below to find the indicated values. So for number 1, I've got f of x equals 6x plus 5. So remember, when we have the 2 in parentheses, that is an input. Input is 2, and they want us to find the output. So I'm going to take my function 6, and then instead of x, I'm going to input 2 plus 5. So I've got the original function, I've just input 2 for x. Now I'm going to think about PEMDAS. I'm going to do multiplication first. 6 times 2 is 12. And then I can add and get 17. Okay, part B, I'm using the same function, but this time my input is negative 2. So same idea, 6 times negative 2 this time, plus 5. So 6 times negative 2, that's negative 12, plus 5, negative 7. Okay, number 2, this time I have the function g, and the function g is 3 raised to the power of x. So for this first one, my input is 4, so I'm going to write 3 raised to the 4th. Remember, exponents are repeated multiplication. So this is the same as 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times itself 4 times. Okay, now I can plug this into my calculator, but I know that 3 times 3 is equal to 9. That 3 times 3 is equal to 9. 9 times 9 is equal to 81. Okay, next my input is 0. So 3 raised to the 0, and there's a mathematical rule that we just know, anything raised to the 0 is 1. Okay, so we are going to skip the middle questions and just do these last 3, which are all about slope. So very quick recap of what slope is. Usually when we talk about slope, we're looking at an equation or a graph, sorry. Slope is basically rise over run, and you might have had previous math teachers who had you draw in these triangles to help you find the slope. The most common way I think that teachers explain it is using the words rise over run, because the slope is telling you how far up and over you have to go to get from point to point on a line. So with 6, 7, and 8, they give us 3 different representations. For number 6, they give us an equation. This is actually in y equals mx plus b form. You might remember slope-intercept form from a previous math class. When you have an equation of a line like this, the number in front of the x is the slope. You don't have to do any other work. If you have an equation that looks like y equals m, or a number, x plus b, another number, this is your slope right here. So the slope of this line is 8. Don't write an x, just write the number. Okay, the next way we're given a relationship is as 2 points. So you might have had a previous math teacher use this formula. Now, not every teacher uses the formula because it's basically just rise over run. So your teacher might not have showed this to you in a previous math class, but it's likely you've seen it before. It's basically just calculating rise and calculating run. Now, in order for this to work, I need to name the 2 points. So I'm going to call this point x1, y1. I'll use orange for that one, and I'm going to call the other point x2, y2, and I'll use blue for that one. So now what I'm going to do is just plug in values. So y2 is negative 11, x2 is 6, those are my blue values. Y1 is 5, and x1 is negative 2. I wrote minus negative 2 on the bottom. There was already a minus here, and then x1 is negative 2, so I've got minus negative. Minus a negative always turns into plus. So when I'm simplifying this, negative 11 minus 5 is negative 16. This negative negative turns into a plus, so this is really like 6 plus 2, which is 8. negative 16 divided by 8 is negative 2. So my slope of this line is negative 2. Okay, the last way that we can find slope is in this table. So I'm going to start by looking for the rise, or how the y is changing. So from here to here, here to here, here to here. What's changing? I think the dog that you maybe are hearing in the background is telling us +4. Yep. So the y's are increasing by 4. That's our rise. Now for the run, we look to x. Because remember, x is this way. Y is up and down, so that's our rise. Run is the x direction, left and right. And this looks like we're adding 1 each time. So run is 1. So for my slope, I just take rise over run. 4 over 1 is 4. That's it.